Welcome back to the Tour Today show. My name is Steve Fleck. Every day there is racing at the Tour. We will talk about the highs and the lows, the thrills and the spills, the tragedies and the triumphs at the Tour, aka La Grande Boucle. On each episode of the Tour Today, I will have a special guest on the show with me. Today, my guest is one of the top track pursuit cyclists and short time trial specialists in the world. He won a bronze medal at the UCI Road World Championships in the mixed team time trial relay for Great Britain last year at the UCI Road World Championships. He's also a specialist in cycling aerodynamics. Welcome, Dan Bigham.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me along.
Oh, great to see you again. You and I, we've met up along the merry road of cycling several times, but great to be joining you virtually. Where are you joining us from, Dan?
So I'm in Staffordshire, right in the Midlands in the UK. I've been all over the place. I was over in Italy last week for the Giro Rosa, the women's Grand Tour.
Nice.
But back home for a little while now.
Awesome. Well, great that you're here with us. We'll get into your area of specialty just in a moment's time. Dan, just want to thank everyone who has tuned in to watch the Tour Today show. If you have any input or questions about guests, questions for guests, questions for me, best place to reach me is on Twitter. You can find me at Steve Fleck. Dan, if people were to find you on social media, where's the best spot for them to track you down?
I'm everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Pretty much Dan Biggles and Dan Biggles 22 across all of them. Or if you want to check my website out, I'm shopforwhat.co.uk.
Fantastic. Great stuff. Okay, so the stage today, stage 19, we're starting to count them down, just 2 stages to go. The penultimate stage, the time trial tomorrow, and then the finale into Paris and the famous finish on the Champs-Élysées on Sunday. Today it was 160 kilometers from Bourg-en-Bresse to Champagnolo in the Jura region of France. In keeping with the theme of this year's Tour de France, we had an unexpected outcome and a very exciting and dramatic finish over the final 40 or 50 kilometers. At times, Dan, it looked a bit like a spring classic with just repeated attacks, like off the front, just attack after attack after attack. Finally, in the final 40 kilometers, a significant group of about 12 riders got away that contained Peter Sagan, Matteo Trentin, Sam Bennett, Greg Van Avermaet, many of the strongest cyclists in the race in a spring classic type of format, as well as a racer from Sunweb who's won a stage already, Soren Craig Anderson. And it was Craig Anderson with a sneaky and stealthy attack as the big heavyweights were kind of looking at one another. He snuck away and got up a minute on them by the finish and went on to win the stage. What did you think about that, Dan? It was almost like time trial mode for Craig Anderson over that final 10 plus kilometers to get to the finish line. High drama and probably a bit of pressure and pain for him.
Yeah, well, he's Danish. He's got to be a good time trialist, right? Seems to be in the blood over there. It's cool, and to get away that far away and from such a group of hitters. Clearly looked like it was everyone fighting out for that green jersey and trying to take it off Sam Bennett's back, and he's done a good job of carrying that throughout the race and being in the right moves in the right place at the right time. He's definitely got the tactical nous to do it. I think, letting him go and knowing he's not in the mix for those points is probably quite a wise thing for him, and let the other guys cover it off. So, really cool to see. And I think Sunweb in general have tactically been really intelligent throughout the whole tour. They've got Matt Winston back in the car. Britt, I think he used to be on the GB squad. He was one pro, I think, for a while as well. But he seems to have some good ideas, and they just seem to be working well as a team. And then going back a few stages, when Soren Krauj won his first stage, actually, they were just all there doing the exact same thing.
Yes.
Not 50k out, 5k out, but nonetheless, they were there in numbers and they were using their heads, and it's cool to see.
And what do you think of young Mark Hirschi, winner of the Road World Championships back in 2018 for the U23 group? And he has really shown his form. 3 top 3 finishes, including a stage win. This is a young rider with a lot of talent and fitness, I would say.
Yeah, he's found his place in cycling, hasn't he? Which is cool. It's nice to have that kind of breakthrough season and breakthrough race and show what he's really capable of. It was a shame that he crashed out just yesterday when he could have been there with Carapaz fighting out with Cueto and seeing what that finish could have been. But then for Ineos, I think they were quite happy to celebrate over those last few kilometres and really enjoy the moment. But he's certainly had his breakthrough one, and yeah, he's got some outrageous potential. He can climb, he can definitely descend. Obviously, he lost his front wheel yesterday, but you don't lose your front wheel for nothing. He was definitely trying and pushing, and it's nice.
Well, it's been a bit of a different tour for Sunweb. They went in saying they were going after stage victories. They've got 3, and they've placed highly in a number of other stages. In the past, they'd been all in for GC or the green jersey for Michael Matthews in the past. But this strategy of just going for stage wins seems to have turned into a real winner for them, I think. Looking at
the niche.
Yeah, it's a good niche for them. I mean, it's sort of teams go in all obsessed with the GC, but it's nice to see a team just going in and they're just saying we're going for stage wins, and I think that's really been a plus for them. So Luka Medzik from the Mitchelton Scott team won the little mini sprint for second on the stage, and Jasper Stuyvesant was third. Van Avermaet then in over across the line. Sagan came in just glued to Sam Bennett's wheel. Obviously, and Matteo Trentin came in. They came across the line 8th, 9th, and 10th, those 3. Yellow jersey, obviously no change in the standings on that. They are all waiting patiently for the time trial stage tomorrow, which Stan and I will get to momentarily. It is still Primož Roglic in first place, Tadej Pogacar in second, and Miguel Angel Lopez in third. In the green jersey, Sam Bennett still in first, Peter Sagan in second, Matteo Trentin in third. This thing, Dan, might come all down to that final sprint, that famous sprint on the Champs-Élysées, if the points go the right or the wrong way for Sam Bennett. So there could be some drama in that final sprint to the line in Paris on Sunday. No points in the time trial for the sprint tomorrow. White jersey still on the back of the young Slovenian sensation Tadej Pogacar. Now, in the KOM, Richard Carapaz for Ineos, based on his great ride yesterday, in second behind Mikhail Kwiatkowski, as Dan had mentioned. Ineos going 1-2 on the stage tomorrow. Carapaz into polka dots. There will be mountain climbing KOM polka dot points handed out in the time trial tomorrow. First up and fastest time to the top of the climb will get some King of the Mountain points. So Carapaz will have to be on the lookout. Tadej Pogacar, who is a good time trialist, is just sitting 2 points behind him, and Roglic is sitting in third on that. Movistar in first place in the team competition. So Dan, as we've been talking about, it is a time trial stage tomorrow, 36 kilometers with a mountaintop finish at La Planche de Bellefille. It is 5 kilometers of uphill with steepest slopes in the final 200 or 300 meters at 20%. My goodness. This is a highly unusual time trial. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm excited for it. Very excited. It's nice to have a TT that really splits the GC guys up across different aspects of time trialing. Okay, it's not super technical. There are a few little technical sections to it, but you've got a bit of flat, you've got a bit of dragging, you've got a whole lot of climbing as well, and you need to kind of cover all off. And from a sort of performance optimization perspective, that's quite a nice challenge to have, that you're not just optimizing, for example, if they were going to race up the climb, it'd be all out for basically power and power, weight, and rolling resistance, whereas now you've still got a good factor of aerodynamics in, and how they sort of strike that balance between the two is going to be a really interesting one.
Now, it seems strange, this tour, this crazy tour that's been, the expected, unexpected the whole way through, that there was only one time trial, and a short one at that, and a mountain climb one at the finish. Is that a bit strange that they would have a parcours for a Tour de France like this with just one relatively short time trial?
Yeah, I would have thought as well, considering COVID, it's the most socially distant aspect of the sport, right?
Right.
We'll have 21 time trial stages. I think it's just been what's happened the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It's been a steady progression to less and less time trial kilometres every Grand Tour, especially in the Tour de France. And I don't know if that's an artifact of how Sky approached it, that they could see by being technologically switched on and aware of that, they could make good time gaps on all the time trial stages and worry less about the mountain stages. And then ASO's approach was like, well, screw you guys, I'm going to gonna get rid of your advantage then. Or maybe it's just people looking at it could be viewerships on all the different channels. I don't know. There's many different ways to split it and explain it, but unfortunately, yeah, less time trial kilometers, which for someone like me is a bit frustrating. I love a good time trial. I'll happily sit and watch 6 hours straight of every single rider.
Yep.
But it's going to be a nice challenge, that's for sure.
So with that profile, rolling sort of valley roads and then 5 kilometers straight uphill with very steep ramps towards the end, there's been lots of talk about, what bike are they going to use? Are they going to go with the time trial bike all the way? Might some of the GC favorites, or maybe some other rider who's not a GC favorite, going for, a legit stage win? Is it worthwhile changing bikes to sort of a road bike at some point just before the road really ramps up? Is that a worthwhile thing to consider even doing?
It's very touch and go, and I think because of it, you'll see most people be quite risk averse. You have to be very quick on the bike change, literally in the region of sort of 5, 6, 7 seconds from stopping to going, and then also have quite a difference in mass between both bikes to make it actually reasonable. If you talk about power, there's no reason why power should be any different between a road bike and a TT bike. It's purely by that point they're going so slow that aerodynamics are pretty unimportant, so you need to be saving in the region of 1.5-2 kilos across the bikes to really make it a sensible difference. And as we've all seen, especially a couple of years ago at Norway Bergen Worlds, when they all did bike swaps or decided when they would do bike swaps at the bottom, it can go horribly wrong. And how frustrating would that be if you lose your Grand Tour because, I don't know, you got on the wrong side of the bike or miss your pedal clipping or something so innocuous as that? It just would be quite frustrating. So I don't think we'll see many, personally. So knowing that, like if they were to go all the way on a classic time trial bike, would there be some modifications to the bike or equipment choice, maybe wheel choice, possibly, that they would change if it was different from just a normal flat or rolling terrain time trial? Definitely. There's 2 different sides to it. So the way to think about it is you can find a way to put more energy in, so to produce more power, which might be changing your position slightly, especially on the climb. You're going to be on the base bar, so can you raise the base bar up? Can you effectively open the hip angle, be more powerful? And then the second one is, can you use equipment that is lighter and not have such an aerodynamic penalty? So for example, some wheel sets and disc wheels might not be quite so aerodynamic as their usual time trial counterparts, but if they're significantly lighter, you can pretty easily figure out the balance of like, well, if we know that this is, let's say, 5 watts more aerodynamic at 48k an hour, but is 200 grams heavier, then you might be able to make that sort of balance up, and you can figure out basically what the quickest way to the finish line is based on all the equipment that you have available to you. And I imagine all the top teams have run those numbers and figured out whether the optimum lies for them. From what you've seen, I know you haven't been watching the Tour de France in full detail, but from what you've seen, looking at the GC, this is going to be really important for those riders in the top 10, of the GC. They have to be full on. They have to commit to tomorrow, because for some of them, this could be, them moving up or moving backwards. From what you've seen, who is going to, be a factor in this? Is this going to be like a battle of the GC for the stage win, like between Roglic and Pogačar, or perhaps some other specialist, time trial specialist, who maybe not highly in the GC, has just been resting up for the last few days? How do you see this going down? That's probably the most exciting aspect, and especially when you look at how well every single rider has been going in Jumbo. Like, it could be the Jumbo Visma team time trial champs, right? You could have Wout van Aert out climbing Dumoulin and Sepp Kuss by all accounts, based on his form last few weeks. And I think that in itself could be quite exciting, and having them untethered, because let's be honest, after tomorrow there's nothing left, just a bit of champagne and a sprint. So yeah, being able to see every single one of those guys go full gas and let's see what they've got could be super exciting. You've got Dumoulin, obviously ex-time trial world champion. You've got Wout van Aert, who's just time trialing like an absolute demon. Sepp Kuss, who just seems to be on an absolute other level this year. You never know with like George Bennett, and yeah, they could pull something out. Between Roglic and Pogačar, well, right now, based on the form and the last few days, he'd probably edge towards Roglic, but then Pogačar put him to the sword at the national championships. Good, was it 6 weeks ago now, something like that, on a very, very similar course, which is quite interesting. But then actually looking in the top few, the one I would look out for is Richie Port. He obviously wants to move on to that podium step.
Yes.
He's renowned as fairly good time trialist, especially in climbing. He's done some great rides in like the Paris-Nice time trials as well, who I guess from parcours are quite similar. And then Miguel Angel Lopez, not renowned against the clock, doesn't have probably the best equipment with Astana. They're lacking a little bit on the technology front. So I think Richie Port's probably eyeing that up. A minute 40. It's big. It's 20 watts, 25 watts, something like that. But it's a big gap, but it's definitely achievable if Richie puts it together, and that'd be a nice one to see him up there.
What about someone like Carapaz? His motivation would be defending that polka dot jersey. How is he overall in the time trial? We know he can go uphill well, but how do you think he might factor?
He could. I think that's the big thing, how well he can time trial, because going back to what I said earlier, it's not just a hill climb. There is a good section of time trialing where if you're not good at holding good aero position and have all that dialed in, then unfortunately you could throw away 5, 10, 15 seconds there quite easily, and that can be the difference between a stage win and finishing 10th. He could. I would say he'd be lucky for a top 10. That's my thoughts.
Right. So we could potentially see Tadej Pogacar in polka dots by the end of the day. I mean, he showed at that Slovenian, championships when he won the time trial there and beating Roglic that he's a pretty good time trialer. So I agree with you that it might be a potential showdown between those two at the top of the win column tomorrow. Shifting more to just generally about aerodynamics, Dan. How important are aerodynamics? I mean, we see even on the road stages now, the commentators, I don't know which commentary you're watching, but we were watching Anthony McCrossan and Simon Gerrans going at great length talking about when Mark Hershey, was away in breakaways or going for stage wins, all the little details about his bike and his socks and his clothing and his helmet choices on what is a road stage, and taking all those little decisions seriously in terms of getting the best out of the aerodynamics in a road stage. How important is it now these days?
You can't ignore it, and it's the single biggest reason why people are going faster: road bikes, time trial bikes, track bikes. It is aerodynamics and the understanding of it. And yeah, you see it, especially with those guys who are going in the breakaways and going for solo attacks. If they're not wearing skin suits, riding in good positions, aero helmets, aero socks, they're wasting their time. They're not gonna stay away. And yeah, we laugh and joke about aero socks and the UCI checking sock height. It's actually really important. Like from a pair of cotton socks to a pair of aero socks for a fairly standard rider, maybe they're riding a breakaway at 45k an hour, can be up to 10 watts. It's like, who wants to throw away 10 watts? That's a second every kilometre. If Hershey's away, and he was away for 90k the other day, 10 watts, 90k, you're suddenly a minute and a half. Well, if he was wearing aero socks, he could have been a minute and a half further back. You get caught a long way back. It's not small differences. And that's why you're seeing teams pay attention to it. It definitely does make a difference, and a significant one at that.
So looking at all the things, Dan, that you can control in terms of aerodynamics on the bike, the big ones are body position and then everything else, like all the equipment choices. What is most important?
Like you said, body position. So that tends to be head position, shoulder width, arm width, that kind of thing. Especially on time trial bikes where you can be so controlled in your position because you're locked in. Differences of 10, even 5 millimeters can be huge, can be watts, which is, like I said, seconds over a time trial. On the road positions, it tends to be being able to have a comfortable position that you can ride in the bunch and that is stable and manageable, but one that you can then get into quite an aggressive aerodynamic position when you're inevitably in a breakaway or a solo attack or whatever it might be. So yeah, position tends to drive it. Clothing is the probably the next biggest thing. From what might be considered a fast skin suit or bit of clothing 10 years ago to now, 45k an hour, you can see 20, 30 watts difference. And again, it's huge. Imagine all day, every day, you're riding on the front, your Wout van Aert or any of the dog's body sitting on the front of the peloton. If you can save 30 watts, That's a lot of energy. That's a lot of
Right.
gels. That's a lot of bars that you're not having to eat all day, every day for 3 weeks straight. It's a good way of putting it.
Well, if you look at even the pictures from back, I would say 10 years ago, and I don't know what a feed you're getting, but we're getting the world feed, and they've been fantastic. As I said, Anthony McCrossan and Simon Gerrans, they have been our commentators, and the little vignettes that they've been showing, they've been going back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and you go back even 10 years ago, and it's apparent when you're looking at what they were wearing in a classic road stage. The jerseys were baggier. And to your point, like they're almost wearing what was traditionally a skin suit. They're wearing that on a road stage now. So obviously the clothing is a big deal.
Yeah, and it's the single most biggest thing you can really improve, and it's so cheap and easy and something to develop continually. It's getting quite well understood now, and you'll end up with different suits for different shaped riders at different speeds in different positions. It's getting to that level of comprehension of what's happening around the human body, and I think that's quite exciting. It's a really niche but very cool area of aerodynamic development.
Well, the team that you rode for when we first met, the Hube Professional Pursuit Team. Hube is excuse me, an apparel sort of manufacturer, and they have done some phenomenal research, on the materials and the weave of everything on different parts of the body. What are some of the things that when you were riding with and for Hube that you had found out that you didn't know?
Well, I guess the big thing with Hube is they engage with all of us. So myself and my own background in aerodynamics meant that we were pretty much given free rein to just get stuck in and do our own testing and engage with the right people. So utilising Vortec and the Silverstone Sports engineering hub there, they've been fantastic with us. But yeah, from a fabrics perspective, just the sheer unique nature of aerodynamics on a cyclist and how it doesn't seem to cross over with any other sport or motorsport, really. It's frustrating in a way, but it means that we've been able to find a huge amount of improvement. So going out there and quite literally just buying hundreds of different fabrics that we test. We have test cylinders and we test inside, outside, all rotations, angles, tensions, all ranges of speeds to find out what works for certain riders, certain speeds, certain positions. And there's some really nifty little stuff that I wish I could talk about in great detail, but I'm tied up in non-disclosure agreements of what you can really do with clothing. It's exciting.
It's that important that it's top secret and there's NDAs being signed. It's pretty important stuff. So after the positioning of the body on the bike, Dan, and then looking at apparel and clothing, what are some of the other sort of bigger equipment choice, more important things that sort of a weekend warrior would sort of look to, either in a road situation or in a time trial situation, to make themselves more dynamic?
So I'd say from a road situation is handlebars. They define how you ride or what position you ride in as a rider. And I think the sport itself is still quite stuck in riding 40s, 42s, 44 centimeter wide handlebars, which is personally, I think, absolute madness when there's so much to be gained from being narrow and for running aerodynamic handlebars. So, I'm a fairly standard rider. I'm about 72, 73 kilos, 6 foot, 183 centimeters, whatever you want to look at. And I ride 35 centimeter handlebars.
On your road bike? These are 35 wide.
35.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. It's more aero, it's faster, and you get used to it. You understand the handling is slightly different, but it's not really any worse. It's just different, and I think there's a lot to be learned from that in the road racing world. In the world of time trialing, I'd say the biggest thing is having equipment that enables you to adjust, to dial in, to be able to make those small little changes and to figure out what works for you, because everybody's body shape's different, everybody's flexibility is different, everyone runs a different helmet, different head position. You want to be able to make those small adjustments and make them quickly. So if you're doing some testing on the road, on the track, in the wind tunnel, you don't want to waste an hour changing your pad width. You want to fire through that in 30 seconds and get 10 of them done in an hour. So you know exactly the optimal pad width, exactly the optimal reach, exactly the optimal stack height, and really get there really quick. And I think it's not a gain in the traditional sense of put a fast wheel on, but it's again in the sense of if you want to time trial fast, you need to be able to optimize. If you want to be able to optimize, you need to be able to change things quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Dan, you split your time between sort of time trialing on the road. I know you do a bit of road racing, but you're more a short sort of time trial guy on the road, and racing on the track. What do you prefer? What's your favorite sort of racing venue? A road TT or a pursuit on the track?
Oh, they're both good for different reasons. I love a good road time trial for the different challenges you get for every single one. Like an individual pursuit, I could go to 10 different tracks and give within reason. A track has a straight and two straights, 2 corners. There's not much else to it. Whereas outside, having all the wind and the roads and the junctions and roundabouts and furniture and how you pace that effort is such a cool challenge from an engineering perspective. And I like that. I like the opportunity to really get stuck into, get some spreadsheets going and see where the gains are. But then there's the nice simplicity of a good pursuit, right? There's nowhere to hide. It's just you, your bike and the clock, and just go for it. So, yeah, it's hard to say.
And of course, then there's the other factor, the team pursuit, which I've always found fascinating because there's going like solo by yourself really hard, but then syncing your all out, over the red line effort with 3 other riders, like that's something almost magical, I find.
Yeah, it's a good synchronicity of your team and where you all are, and being able to understand each other's performance and each other's ability and form at that time as well. And being able to do that at 65k an hour, absolutely on the red line, unable to get a single word out, is quite a skill. And when it all comes together, it's a bit magical, really. When you cross that line, you look up and you're like, wow, we did that. That's crazy. Yeah. This
has been awesome, Dan. I really appreciate you sharing some of your thoughts on time trials, aerodynamics, and bike racing with us today. Really appreciate this.
No, thank you for having me. Always nice to talk.
You've been watching the Tour Today show. My guest today has been Dan Bigham, one of the top track pursuit cyclists in the world and a leading authority on aerodynamics in cycling. Tomorrow for stage 20, the one and only time trial stage, as Dan and I have been talking about in this year's Tour de France, my guest will be the president of Polar North America, Tom Fowler. I'm Steve Fleck on behalf of the whole team at Endurance Zone TV. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the next episode of the Tour Today show.